So I built a Mixbus for a kind of specific purpose. There's been a problem recently with broadcasting that budgets have tended to get ever more diminished and smaller. And so I wanted to build something for a particular task rather than for a budget. Everything on this truck is mission critical. It's designed for live broadcasting, so nothing can go wrong, and that is the kind of key thing. I've got redundant systems everywhere. Every power supply is duplicated. We've got a 6 kilowatt UPS out the back, which backs up power. We can run the truck for half an hour on batteries should the power go. And every piece of gear has been chosen with two things in mind: one, sound quality, and the other, reliability. It's 7.5 tons, which is, and it's only 8.5 metres long, which means it's quite easy to get it onto a boat and it's relatively cost effective. A lot of the stuff though tends to happen around London, particularly theatre land. A lot of the live to cinema stuff is from West End shows, which are all based in Shaftesbury Avenue and around that area. Well, this does V Festival every year for Will Shapland. He's got the contract to do all the V stages. I think there are 4 or 5 stages possibly this year. This always does one of the stages. It's peculiarly well set up actually for rock and roll, because the desk has complete total automation, snapshot automation, and we've got 128 track duplicate recording at the back, which can run all day. The truck is also networked. So the mix can actually go straight out on the network to another truck or a porta cabin where it can be clipped up and either broadcasted live, or we could, live satellite or network or radio station. We started doing the live to cinema stuff, and live to cinema is peculiar because the levels are different from broadcasting. You mix sound in a very different way, and also the listening environment, so the people who listen, you know that they're listening in an environment where you can hear a pin drop. So everyone can hear everything, and you know that the auditorium is lined up, usually by Dolby, to a high standard. So they get very high quality audio, which means we have to deliver here, or we get thousands, well maybe tens of thousands of complaints. The key thing are Jesus pin, I think they call it in microlighting, don't they? The key thing is the MADI bridge. We've got 2 of those because they're so important. We have 6 MADI cards into the core of this. So we can do 3 stage boxes and 192 track recording, or 4 stage boxes, 128 track recording. The MADI bridge handles all the I/O out of the core into the recording machines, or into, if we're working with other trucks, MADI feeds to OB trucks, which are increasingly using MADI. It's fundamentally important that it is reliable, obviously, and that it doesn't change the signal in any way. And pretty much every signal goes through it because the whole truck is MADI based. Very, very important. MADIface XT, that is a truly amazing box. We've got a MADIface, we've got a MADI, an HDSPE MADI card, which has got 192 ins and outs, and the Mac Pro. That's a big, heavy beast, and the Mac Pro was obviously, the old Mac Pro has been discontinued. It's very useful for us because we've got 4 hard disks in it, so we can do backups, and it's very reliable. But the XT gives us the opportunity to put Mac Minis in, saving a lot of weight. We can actually then do duplicate 192 track recording in 2U of space, which is astonishing. I'd say it's probably the best manufacturer ever come across actually. We had a problem with the XT when it first came in, where I was running it on the laptop and it kept reporting out of sync errors. And over the weekend, they got the exact same model of laptop, identified the problem, realised that it was a problem peculiar to that particular laptop and that particular chipset. And about 2 days later, I got an updated driver to try out. It's truly astonishing. Well, UFX actually solves a particular problem, and it solves it very, very well indeed. We have a situation here where the speakers, we have a front set of speakers, barefoot sound, which are great. We have rear speakers, which, because of the design of the truck, are PMC wafers that fit very nicely into the size of the truck, but they sound different. And what we do with the UFX is use the integrated EQ, which is extremely high quality, to make the rear speakers sound the way they should in a cinema, and level-wise and EQ-wise, and also be able to give guest mixers, I have a lot of people who come in and use the truck, their own EQ. So if they think particularly the speakers sound a little bit bright, they are quite bright, I particularly like that, but a lot of the BBC mixers are used to a much more kind of organic, softer sound. We can actually put a preset in a laptop, which they can come along, load the preset, and the monitoring is set up exactly how they want it, which is absolutely amazing. So the show this has just come off actually is the live D-Day celebrations at the Royal Albert Hall, which was the 70th anniversary of the D-Day landings, I think. That was a big event because we had the BBC broadcasting it live on Radio 2. It also went to the Red Button TV side of things, and we handled a live to cinema event. So what we did is we took in, again via MADI, the beautiful MADI, we took in 128 inputs, which we could have different sources on whichever feeds we wanted. Actually, interestingly, using a MADI face USB as a repeater, which is, again, an astonishing little box. We had a problem with MADI not reaching as far as it should do. Put the MADI face USB in line, and it regenerates and resyncs the MADI, so we can run twice as far. So we were able to use that to get over a problem from the venue. Right, so ADI 642, very useful, important piece of kit actually for two reasons. One of which is that the Studer stage boxes come in groups of 48 and they use a MADI feed. So we can have 48 inputs, but then we're not using the last 16 inputs of a MADI. What this can do is can take the Studer stage box input, add another 8 AES inputs into it and pass it on, and it also routes inputs and outputs and things. So what you can do is take 48 lines off stage, add another 8 audience mics, for instance, into it, and then have it all coming up one MADI, which is it saves us a MADI feed and all sorts of other things. The other thing this does, which is very useful, is enables us to check any input or outputs on the MADI stream, which is something that is generally not easy to do. You have 64 ins and outs, and it either tends to all work or not. This enables us to actually check feeds coming into the MADI stream, whether they're good or not, and if there's any problems with clocking, little clicks and pops and all that kind of stuff, which again is something that has been known to happen. That certainly I've heard companies recording whole 2-hour concerts and then coming back and finding that the whole thing wasn't locked properly, and there are clicks every 2 seconds on every track, which means the whole recording is kind of not valid. It needs to be done again.